Let us begin by taking a deep breath, letting go of the tension of the present day, and allowing our minds to drift back across the centuries. We are traveling to a time and place that exists now only in stone and memory, yet feels as tangible as the ground beneath our feet. We are in Rome, the eternal city, but we are not here for the grand parades of the day, nor the shouting of the orators in the forum. We are here for the quiet. We are here to witness the slow, inevitable transition from the bustling heat of the afternoon to the cool, shadowed embrace of the night. Imagine, if you will, that you are standing upon one of the 7 hills, perhaps the Aventine, looking out over the sprawling expanse of the city as the sun begins its final descent. The sky is no longer the harsh, bright blue of midday. It has softened, deepened into a complex tapestry of colors that have no names. There is a band of pale gold clinging to the horizon, right where the silhouette of the Janiculum Hill cuts against the light. Above that gold, the air turns to a dusty rose, then a bruised purple, and finally, high above, the first hint of a velvety indigo that promises the coming of the stars. The heat of the day, which has baked the city streets for hours, is beginning to lift, but it does not leave all at once. It lingers in the stones. Rome is a city of stone, travertine, marble, tough, and concrete. These materials have absorbed the sun's energy all day long, and now, as the air cools, the walls and the pavements gently radiate that stored warmth back into the atmosphere. If you were to place your hand against the rough surface of a temple wall, you would feel it, a faint, steady warmth, like the breathing of a sleeping giant. It is a comforting sensation, a reminder that the city itself is alive, in its own slow, geologic way. Below us, the sounds of the city are changing. For the last 12 hours, Rome has been a cacophony of human voices. There have been merchants shouting their wares, politicians arguing, children playing, and the constant hum of thousands of sandals shuffling against the pavement. But now, a hush is beginning to fall. It is not a sudden silence, but a gradual layering down of sound. It is like the tide going out, wave by gentle wave. The shops are closing, all across the city, from the crowded Suburra to the elegant Via Sacra. The wooden shutters of the tabernae are being pulled shut. Listen closely. Can you hear the sound? It is a specific rhythmic sound that echoes down the narrow alleys. Thud, creak, latch. The heavy wooden panels are slotted into their grooves. The iron bolts are slid home. It is the sound of the city turning inward, of private spaces separating themselves from the public street. The shopkeepers are extinguishing their oil lamps or bringing them deep inside to the back rooms. The smoke from thousands of small cooking fires begins to drift upwards, mingling with the cooling air. It carries the scent of burning olive wood, of garum, of baking bread that will be eaten for the evening meal. It is a thick, savory smell that hangs low in the streets, trapped by the tall apartment blocks, the insulae, which rise up on either side like man-made canyons. As the light fails, the visual details of the city begin to blur. The sharp edges of the statues in the Forum soften. The inscriptions on the monuments, so clear and commanding in the sunlight, become illegible, fading into the gray stone. The colors of the togas, the bright whites and the striped purples, disappear, replaced by moving shadows. People are hurrying home now. Their steps are quicker. There's a sense of urgency to be indoors before the true dark settles. You can hear the rhythm of their walking, the slap of leather soles on basalt paving stones, fading into the distance. The birds, too, are settling. The swifts and swallows that darted through the air all day catching insects have returned to their nests in the eaves of the temples and the crevices of the aqueducts. Their sharp, high-pitched cries have stopped, replaced by the low cooing of pigeons roosting for the night. Even the wind seems to drop, the breeze from the Tiber River slowing down until the leaves of the cypress trees stand perfectly still against the darkening sky. This is the moment of suspension, the space between the two lives of the city. The day belongs to the people, to commerce, to the law. But the night belongs to something else. It belongs to the watchmen, to the shadows, and to the wagons that will soon arrive. But not yet. For now, there is only the deepening blue, the cooling stone, and the slow, rhythmic closing of 100,000 doors. We are safe here, observing the transition, wrapped in the cloak of history, watching as the greatest city on earth prepares to sleep. The blanket of darkness, the twilight has finally surrendered. The purple bruise on the horizon has faded into the same deep, impenetrable black that now covers the rest of the sky. We are now entering the true night of antiquity, a phenomenon that is almost impossible to find in our modern world of electric streetlights and neon signs. In ancient Rome, when the night falls, it falls with a heavy, absolute finality. It is not merely the absence of light, it is the arrival of a physical weight, a velvet curtain that drops over the 7 hills, extinguishing the visual world. Imagine standing there, in the middle of a narrow street in the Subura district. Without the moon, you would not be able to see your own hand in front of your face. The darkness is thick and textured. It presses against the eyes. The tall insulae, those towering apartment blocks that loom 5 or 6 stories high on either side of the street, effectively block out the starlight. You are at the bottom of a deep, man-made canyon, and the darkness here is total. There is no public street lighting in Rome. There are no gas lamps, no electric bulbs, no glowing screens. The street level is abandoned to the shadows. The only illumination comes from the windows above, and it is faint, flickering, and uncertain. If you look up, craning your neck towards the strip of sky visible between the rooftops, you might see the erratic glow of a single oil lamp, a lucerna, burning on a 3rd-floor windowsill. Let us focus on that light for a moment. It is a small, humble thing. A simple terracotta bowl filled with olive oil, perhaps a bit of salt added to dry the oil and prevent sputtering, with a linen wick floating in the center. The flame is tiny, shaped like a tear. It does not push back the darkness so much as it carves out a tiny, fragile sphere of visibility within it. It casts long, dancing shadows against the plaster walls of the apartment. The light is warm, orange and yellow, pulsing rhythmically with the draft that sneaks through the wooden shutters. From the street below, these scattered lights look like distant, dying stars trapped in the masonry. They tell us that life is continuing inside, behind the reinforced doors and the heavy shutters. The public life of the Roman citizen has ended, and the private, domestic existence has begun. The sounds have changed quality now. During the day, the noise of Rome was expansive, echoing off the walls and filling the open air. Now, the sounds are muffled, intimate, and introspective. Because the streets are empty, the acoustics of the city shift. You can hear the distinct, muted sounds of life bleeding through the thin walls of the tenements. Listen. Somewhere on the second floor, a family is finishing their evening meal. You can hear the dull clink of a clay cup being set down on a wooden table. It is a soft, hollow sound. Thunk. Then, the scrape of a bench across a tiled floor. These sounds are isolated, framed by the silence of the street, giving them a strange clarity. You might hear the murmur of low voices, indistinct, stripped of their meaning, just a rhythmic hum of human communication. A mother humming a melody to a child, an old man coughing, a dry rattling sound that echoes briefly in the alleyway before being swallowed by the dark. The air in these narrow streets begins to stagnate. The breeze that moved through the Forum during the day does not reach down here. The air grows cool and damp, settling on the cobblestones. It carries the scent of the night, the smell of cooling stone, the faint acrid odor of soot from the thousands of oil lamps burning above, and the damp earthiness of the Tiber River nearby. There is a sense of enclosure. To be outside on the street at this hour is to be an intruder. The city has turned its back on the outdoors. Every window is shuttered. Every door is barred. The transition is complete. The bustling metropolis of 1,000,000 souls has fragmented into 100,000 tiny isolated islands of light, each one floating alone in the vast ocean of the Roman night. We are standing in the void between these islands. The cobblestones under our feet are uneven and hard. If you were to walk now, without a torchbearer to guide you, you would have to move with extreme caution, sliding your sandals forward inch by inch to avoid the refuse, the uneven stones, or the sleeping stray dogs that curl up in the corners of buildings for warmth. But we do not need to move yet. We are simply standing, breathing in the cool air, feeling the immense weight of the silence that has descended upon the capital of the world. It is a silence that waits, a silence that is about to be broken, not by the chaotic noise of the day, but by the specific, purposeful sounds of the night shift. But for now, there is only the dark and the peace of a city withdrawing into itself. The unceasing flow, under the cover of this heavy darkness, with the shutters closed and the voices silenced, a new soundscape begins to emerge. It is a sound that is always present in Rome, day and night, but during the daylight hours, it is lost beneath the roar of the crowds. It is the sound of water. Rome is, above all else, a city defined by its mastery of water. And at night, the city sings with the liquid music of its aqueducts, its pipes, and its fountains. Listen. Stand still on the corner of a street near the Forum Boreum. Do you hear it? It is a steady, rhythmic splashing. Splash, gurgle, flow. It is the sound of a neighborhood fountain, a lacus, one of the hundreds that dot the city's intersections. These basins are not merely decorative, they are the lifeblood of the district. But at night, they are lonely sentinels. The water flows continuously. The Romans do not have taps to turn off. The engineering is designed for constant motion. Imagine the water arriving from miles away, carried on the high stone arches of the Aqua Marcia or the Aqua Claudia. It has traveled from the cool, distant hills, flowing through dark tunnels and soaring over valleys, maintaining a steady, gravity-fed pace. Now it arrives here, in the sleeping city. It pours out of a spout, perhaps carved in the shape of a lion's head or a river god, and falls into the stone basin below. In the stillness of the night, this sound is incredibly loud. The water strikes the surface of the pool, creating a continuous, soothing white noise. Shh. It creates a texture in the air, a sonic blanket that wraps around the nearby buildings. Occasionally, the rhythm changes slightly as the wind catches the stream or as the basin overflows. The excess water spills over the worn stone lip of the fountain, cascading down onto the pavement, washing away the dust of the day, trickling into the gutters and drains that run beneath the street. Let us follow that sound. The overflow runs along the curb, a small, dark ribbon of water, reflecting nothing but the black sky. It gurgles as it drops into the sewer grates, the cloacae, descending into the subterranean belly of the city. Even deep underground, the water is moving, rushing through the great cloaca maxima, carrying the city's waste out towards the river. The city is breathing water. If you were to press your ear against the brickwork of a bathhouse or a wealthy home, you might hear a different kind of water sound. It is the faint, high-pitched hiss of pressurized water moving through lead pipes, the fistulae. These pipes snake through the walls and under the floors, vibrating ever so slightly with the force of the water trapped inside. It is a mechanical hum, a reminder of the immense engineering prowess that keeps this city alive. It is the sound of civilization holding back the chaos of nature, even while the city sleeps. And then there is the river, the Tiber. Walk with me in your mind to the edge of the embankment, near the Emilian Bridge. The river is wide and dark, a moving mass of obsidian. It does not sparkle tonight. It absorbs the darkness, but you can hear it. It is a low, powerful rumble, deeper than the sound of the fountains. It is the sound of a massive volume of water pushing against the pilings of the bridges, swirling around the bends of the Tiber Island. The river has its own night moods. Sometimes a fish jumps, creating a sharp plash that echoes off the flood walls. Sometimes the water laps gently against the moored barges that are tied up along the banks, causing the wood of the boats to creak and groan in protest. Creak, slap, creak. The river is the bass note in the symphony of the Roman night. It is ancient, indifferent to the city that has grown up around it. It flowed here before Romulus, and it flows here now, steady and relentless. This constant presence of water, the trickling gutters, the splashing fountains, the roaring river, creates a hypnotic atmosphere. It is a lullaby for the empire. It suggests continuity. No matter what happened today in the Senate, no matter whose fortune was made or lost, the water continues to flow. It cools the air, dampening the heat radiating from the stones. It adds a layer of freshness to the night. As we stand by the fountain, listening to the endless cycle of the water falling into stone, the sense of time begins to dissolve. There is only this moment and the sound of the water. It washes over the mind, smoothing out thoughts just as it smooths the stone basin over centuries. It is a sound of supreme peace, a liquid barrier between the sleeping citizens and the silence of the void. The city is not dead. It is merely dreaming, lulled by the eternal flow of its own waters. The march of the Vigiles. Into this watery silence, a new sound intrudes. It is faint at first, a rhythmic disturbance in the distance, echoing off the high walls of the apartment blocks. It is not the chaotic shuffle of the daytime crowds. This sound is precise. It is uniform. It is the sound of authority. Crunch, crunch, crunch. It is the sound of metal striking stone. We are hearing the approach of the Vigiles, the watchmen of the city. They are the night police and the fire brigade rolled into one, a paramilitary force instituted by Augustus to bring order to the chaotic Roman night. They are patrolling their sector, dividing the darkness into manageable, observed territories. As the sound draws closer, the nature of the noise becomes clearer. It is the sound of caligae, the heavy military sandals worn by the soldiers. But these are not ordinary soles. The bottoms of these sandals are studded with iron hobnails. When 50 men walk in perfect unison, these iron studs biting into the basalt paving stones create a grinding rhythmic cadence that vibrates through the ground. It is a heavy, crunching beat. Left, right, left. Wait and watch from the shadows of a doorway. The darkness at the end of the street begins to shift. A warm orange glow appears, bouncing off the walls, growing brighter and sharper. Shadows lengthen and shorten rapidly, dancing wildly as the light source moves, and then they appear around the corner. A squad of men, perhaps a contubernium of 8 or 10, walking 2 by 2. At the front, a man carries a torch, a fax. It is a bundle of wood soaked in pitch and resin. The flame is aggressive, crackling and spitting as it burns. It casts a harsh, flickering light that illuminates the faces of the men. They look tired, but alert. They are not the elite Praetorian Guard in their polished breastplates. These are practical men of the city, freedmen mostly, wearing simple tunics, sturdy leather belts, and perhaps a simple helmet, a galea, resting on their heads. The torchlight reveals their equipment. They do not just carry swords. They carry the tools of their primary trade, firefighting. You can see the heavy axes hanging from their belts, the iron heads dull and scarred from use. Some carry buckets woven from esparto grass and sealed with tar, swinging rhythmically against their legs as they march. Thump, thump. Others carry long hooks and pickaxes. They are walking arsenals of utility, prepared to tear down a burning wall or break up a tavern brawl with equal efficiency. The smell of the patrol hits you before they even pass. It is the sharp, chemical sting of the burning pitch from the torch, a smell that defines the Roman night. Underneath that, there is the smell of old leather, of sweat, and of the cheap, sour wine that is the ration of the soldier. They do not speak as they march. Their discipline forbids idle chatter. The only vocal sound is the low, guttural command of the optio, the officer in charge, keeping the pace. State, he might murmur, or simply grunt a cadence. The men breathe in rhythm with their steps. The friction of their equipment, leather rubbing against wool, wood knocking against metal, creates a texture of sound that accompanies the percussion of their feet. As they pass your hiding spot, the light washes over you for a brief second, revealing the cracks in the pavement and the graffiti scratched into the wall behind you, before plunging you back into darkness. The heat of the torch brushes against your face, a fleeting warmth in the cool night air. And then they are moving away. The backs of their tunics fade into the gloom. The rhythmic crunch of the hobnails begins to recede. The dancing shadows on the walls stretch out, become faint, and finally disappear. The glow of the torch turns into a distant orange spark, then vanishes around the next bend in the road. Their passage leaves a residue of safety in the air. In a city with no locks on the streets, where the darkness hides thieves and cutthroats, the rhythmic marching of the Vigiles is the heartbeat of order. It tells the sleeping citizens that someone is awake, someone is watching. The sound of their boots is a lullaby of security. It says, "We are here. The fire is not burning. The enemy is not at the gate. Sleep." Once they are gone, the silence rushes back in to fill the void they left. But it is a different silence now. It is a silence that has been inspected and verified. The street is empty again, save for the stray dog that lifts its head to watch them go, then lowers it back onto its paws, closing its eyes against the dark. The patrol continues, block by block, hour by hour, a ceaseless grinding loop of surveillance that circles the sleeping capital until the dawn. The rumble of the heavy wagons, just as the rhythmic marching of the Vigiles, fades into the maze of streets. A new vibration begins to tremble through the soles of your feet. It is a low-frequency hum, deeper than the river, heavier than the wind. It starts at the periphery of the city, near the great gates, the Porta Capena, the Porta Flaminia, and slowly, inevitably, it begins to bleed into the center. This is the result of the Lex Julia Municipalis, the ancient law that forbids heavy transport wagons from entering the city streets during the daylight hours. Rome is too crowded, too chaotic for commerce to move while the sun is up. And so, the night is not merely a time for sleep. It is the time for logistics. The night belongs to the plaustra, the great two-wheeled ox carts. Listen to the sound of their approach. It is not a clean, sharp sound. It is a chaotic, grinding symphony of friction. Rumble, clatter, grind. The wheels of these wagons are large, made of heavy wood, and rimmed with thick bands of iron. There are no rubber tires to cushion the impact. There are no suspension springs. There is only iron grinding against the hard volcanic basalt of the Roman paving stones. The sound carries for miles. It echoes off the stone facades of the temples, amplifying as the wagons pass through the narrow canyons of the insulae. It is a sound of immense weight. You can hear the burden of the cargo in the groan of the axles. Creak. The wood is under tremendous strain, complaining with every rotation of the wheel. What are they carrying? Close your eyes and imagine the loads passing by in the dark. Some wagons are piled high with timber from the forests of the Apennines, great beams of fir and oak destined for the roofs of new basilicas. The wood shifts and settles as the cart lurches over a pothole, creating a hollow knocking sound. Other wagons are heavier still. They carry stone, massive blocks of white Carrara marble, or rough travertine, or the red granite imported from Egypt. These carts move with agonizing slowness. They are pulled not by horses, but by teams of oxen, 4, sometimes 6 beasts yoked together. Listen to the animals. You can hear the heavy clop-clop of their hooves, a slower, more deliberate rhythm than the soldiers' march. You can hear their labored breathing, the wet snort of air through their nostrils as they lean into the yoke, pulling tons of rock against the friction of the street. The drivers, the muliones, walk alongside their beasts. They do not shout as they might in the countryside. In the city, their commands are low and sharp. A whistle, a click of the tongue, the occasional crack of a leather whip against the air, not to strike the animal, but to signal a turn. Hup, hup. Their voices are woven into the grinding tapestry of the convoy. For the people sleeping in the apartments above, this sound is the soundtrack of their rest. It is inescapable. The vibration travels up through the foundations of the buildings. If you were lying in a bed on the third floor, you would feel the frame of your bed trembling slightly as a particularly heavy wagon passed below. The clay cups on the shelf might rattle against each other. Tink, tink. To the modern ear, this might seem like unbearable noise, but to the Roman, it is a comforting drone. It is the sound of the empire building itself. It is the sound of bread arriving, sacks of grain from the port of Ostia, spilling a fine dust onto the cobblestones. It is the sound of wine barrels rolling, of oil amphorae clinking gently against their straw packing. The procession is endless. It is a river of wood and iron flowing through the streets. One cart passes, and the grinding fades slightly, only to be replaced immediately by the swelling volume of the next one. It creates a continuous rolling thunder that underpins the night. It is monotonous, repetitive, and heavy. It demands nothing of the listener. You do not need to pay attention to it. It is simply there, a wall of sound that encloses the city, sealing it off from the silence of the countryside. The wagons move towards the forum, towards the markets, towards the construction sites of the emperors. They are the slow metabolic pulse of the city, moving the nutrients of civilization while the citizens sleep. And as we stand there, letting the heavy rumble wash over us, we feel grounded. The earth itself seems to be moving under the weight of Rome's ambition, rolling slowly, endlessly, through the dark. The sanctuary of the Domus. Let us turn away now from the grinding noise of the heavy wagons in the open street. Let us seek shelter. Imagine we are standing before a massive set of double doors made of oak, reinforced with bronze studs. This is the entrance to a domus, the private residence of a wealthy Roman family. It is a fortress in miniature, designed to keep the chaos of the city at bay. We pass through the threshold, slipping past the heavy iron bars that secure the door from the inside. Immediately, the soundscape changes. The rumble of the carts outside drops away, muffled by thick walls of brick and concrete. We have entered a zone of engineered silence. The air here is still. It does not carry the dust of the street. Instead, it smells of beeswax, of rosemary from the garden, and of the faint, sweet smoke of a dying incense cone. In the entryway, the vestibulum, lies the first line of defense for the sleeping family. On a woven mat near the door sleeps the ostiarius, the doorkeeper. He is a slave, but a trusted one. Even in his sleep, he is attuned to the rhythm of the house. Beside him, curled into a tight ball of fur, lies a large Molossian dog. This is the living embodiment of the famous warning tile found in Pompeii. Cave Canem, beware of the dog. Tonight, the dog is quiet, its heavy breathing rhythmic and slow, its ears twitching occasionally at the vibration of a passing wagon outside. They are the guardians of the threshold, the silent watchers, ensuring that the peace of the home remains unbroken. Moving past them, we enter the atrium. This is the heart of the house, and at night, it is a space of profound, almost sacred beauty. The room is high-ceilinged and vast. In the center of the floor lies the impluvium, a shallow rectangular pool filled with rainwater. Above it, the roof is open to the sky through the compluvium. Look up. Through that square opening in the roof, you can see the night sky framed perfectly by the dark silhouette of the tiles. A single star hangs there, bright and unblinking. The moonlight filters down, catching the surface of the water in the pool. The water is perfectly still, acting as a black mirror, reflecting the architecture of the room back upon itself. There is no wind here to disturb it. It is a pool of absolute calm. In the corner of the atrium stands a small shrine, the Lararium. It is shaped like a tiny temple. Inside, small bronze statuettes represent the Laras, the household gods who protect the family. A small oil lamp burns in front of them, a tiny pinpoint of light that has been kept alive for generations. The shadows of the little gods dance on the painted plaster walls, dancing figures pouring wine from drinking horns, their faces serene and benevolent. They are watching over the sleepers. In the Roman mind, security is not just about locks and walls. It is about the spiritual protection of these ancestors who inhabit the corners of the room. We move deeper into the house, into the peristelium, the colonnaded garden at the back. Here, nature has been tamed and brought indoors. The frantic noise of the city is entirely gone now. The only sound is the chirping of a single cricket hidden somewhere among the acanthus leaves. Chirp, chirp. It is a lonely, peaceful sound. The garden is filled with statues, marble nymphs and satyrs that gleam pale and ghostly in the starlight. The plants are motionless. The laurel bushes, the boxwood hedges, and the climbing ivy are all resting. The air here is cooler, oxygenated by the greenery. It feels clean and safe. Surrounding this garden are the bedrooms, the cubicula. These are small, functional rooms, often windowless or with only a tiny slit for ventilation. The doors are closed. Heavy curtains, thick tapestries of wool and velvet, hang over the doorways to block out light and sound. Inside those rooms, the family sleeps on beds raised high off the floor, resting on mattresses stuffed with wool or feathers. Imagine the depth of that sleep. Wrapped in fine linen tunics, covered by heavy blankets to ward off the damp chill of the night, they are cocooned in multiple layers of protection. First the blanket, then the room, then the house, then the walls of the city itself. The silence in the domus is heavy and luxurious. It is the silence of safety. It allows the mind to completely let go. There is no need to keep one ear open for danger. The ostiarius is at the door. The Lares are on the shelf. The Vigiles are on the street. The system is working. As we stand in the garden, listening to the cricket and watching the moon track slowly across the sky above the colonnade, we feel a sense of timeless tranquility. This is the eye of the storm. The great imperial capital may be grinding and rumbling outside, but in here, time has stopped. There is only the breathing of the sleepers and the silent vigil of the household gods. The silent markets. We leave the sanctuary of the private home and step back out into the cool air. Our journey now takes us to the places that, during the sunlit hours, are the loudest and most chaotic in the entire empire, the markets. We are walking towards the Mercatus Traiani, Trajan's market, or perhaps the rows of shops lining the Forum. These are the lungs of Roman commerce, but tonight they are holding their breath. There is a specific, hollow quality to the silence of a marketplace at night. It is the silence of absence. The thousands of sandals that shuffled here hours ago have left a layer of fine dust on the travertine floors, but the feet themselves are gone. The voices that haggled over the price of silk, spices, and garum have evaporated. What remains is the architecture of storage and the heavy, metallic reality of security. Walk with me along the curved corridor of the market hall. The ceiling is high, a vaulted expanse of concrete that swallows sound. Your footsteps echo sharply here. Click, clack. The echo takes a long time to fade, bouncing between the rows of empty shops. Look at the tabernae, the individual shop units. During the day, these are open mouths, spilling wares onto the street. Now, they are sealed shut. The mechanism of their closing is a marvel of simple, sturdy engineering. The shopkeepers use heavy wooden shutters, thick planks of oak or pine. These are not on hinges. They are slotted, one by one, into deep grooves cut into the stone threshold at the bottom and the lintel above. Imagine the sound of that closing process, repeated 100 times at dusk. Slide, thud, slide, thud. Now, looking at them in the moonlight, they form a continuous wall of wood. Across the front of the shutters, a heavy iron bar has been placed horizontally, locking the planks in place. It is secured with a padlock, a serra. Let us look closely at one of these locks. It is a heavy, clumsy object by modern standards, forged from iron that has blackened with age and oil. It hangs heavy on the hasp. Inside, the mechanism is complex, involving springs and pins that require a specific, jagged key to lift. It is cold to the touch. It represents the no of the night. It says that the exchange of goods has ceased. The coins are counted and hidden away. The ledgers are closed. Behind these wooden walls, the smells of the merchandise are trapped. If you walk past a spice merchant's stall, you can catch the faint, escaping scent of cinnamon and pepper, grown sharp in the cool air. Pass by the leather worker's shop, and you smell the tannins and the cured hide. Pass the bakery, and there is the ghost of yeast and flour. These scents hang in the air like invisible curtains, marking the territory of each trade even in the dark. The security here is not just physical, it is atmospheric. In the large warehouses, the horea, where the grain and oil of the empire are stored, the silence is even deeper. These are massive brick structures with few windows. Inside, rows of amphorae stand shoulder to shoulder, thousands of them, like a silent army of clay. They are filled with olive oil from Baetica, or wine from Falernum. They sit in the dark, settling, aging, waiting. There is a sense of immense, dormant energy in these stockpiles, enough food to feed the city for months, sitting perfectly still in the dark. Occasionally, you might see the shadow of a private guard, a hired watchman, sitting on a stool in a recessed doorway. Unlike the Vigiles who march, these men are paid to sit. They are wrapped in thick wool cloaks, leaning on a staff, half asleep. They are part of the scenery, as still as the statues. They are not looking for trouble. They are simply a presence, a human seal on the property. The wind blows through the open arcades of the upper levels. Whoosh. It whistles slightly as it cuts around the brick columns. It rattles a loose board on a shutter somewhere down the line. Tap, tap, tap. Then, silence returns. This suspension of commerce is soothing. It reminds us that even in a city driven by profit and ambition, there is a time when the striving stops. The ledger is put away. The scales are balanced. The goods are safe. The market is sleeping, gathering its strength for the chaos that will return with the dawn. But for now, amidst the echoes and the iron bars, there is only the peace of the unbought and the unsold, the eternal flame. From the silent, locked markets, we drift slowly towards the absolute center of the Roman world, the Roman Forum. During the day, this place is a cacophony of lawyers, senators, and citizens. But tonight, the Curia Julia, the Senate House, is a dark, looming block of silence. The rostra, where politicians shout to the crowds, stands empty, a mere platform of stone bathed in moonlight. But there is one place in the forum where the light never dies. There is one heartbeat that never stops beating. In the shadow of the Palatine Hill stands a small, circular temple. It is distinct from the other rectangular buildings. It has a conical roof and a ring of elegant white Corinthian columns that seem to glow softly in the dark. This is the Temple of Vesta, and inside, the most important security measure of the Roman Empire is in effect: the keeping of the sacred fire. Let us approach it quietly. The air around the temple feels different, warmer, charged with a solemn stillness. We cannot enter the inner sanctum. That is forbidden to all but the Vestal virgins. But we can stand near the entrance and observe the glow. Inside the circular cella, a fire is burning on a sacred hearth. It is not a roaring, wild bonfire. It is a controlled, cultivated flame. It is a domestic fire raised to the level of a state religion. Listen closely. Can you hear it? Crackle. Pop. The faint, dry sound of wood surrendering to heat. Hiss. A piece of resin in the wood vaporizes. This fire is the Pignus Imperii, the pledge of empire. The Romans believe that as long as this fire burns, Rome will not fall. It is the ultimate insurance policy. For the citizen sleeping in his bed miles away, knowing that this fire is being tended is a source of profound subconscious comfort. The heart of the city is warm. The state is alive. Inside the temple, the shadows are long and dancing. The light flickers against the marble walls, creating a moving tapestry of gold and orange. The smoke rises straight up, escaping through a vent in the roof, carrying a thin ribbon of scent into the night sky. It smells of sweet wood, oak perhaps, and the distinct aroma of mola salsa, the sacred flour and salt mixture prepared by the priestesses. Watch the silhouette of the Vestal Virgin on duty. She is a figure draped in heavy white wool, her head covered by a veil called a suffibulum. She moves with practiced, ritualistic slowness. There is no hurry in her actions. She has been trained since childhood for this singular task. She bends down, selects a piece of wood from the pile, and places it onto the embers with reverence. She does not throw it, she places it. The sound of her movement is barely audible, the rustle of heavy fabric against the stone floor. Swish, swish. The soft exhale of breath as she tends the hearth. She is the guardian of the timeline. She is awake so that the rest of the world can sleep. Her vigil is solitary, quiet, and incredibly monotonous. It is a holy boredom, a meditation on continuity. Outside the temple, the forum is cold. The stone pavements have lost the day's heat. But here, near the columns of Vesta, there is a radius of warmth. It radiates outward, pushing back the chill of the night. It is a gentle, enveloping heat, like standing next to a sleeping body. The contrast is striking. All around lie the monuments to war and politics, cold, hard, dead stone. But here is light and warmth. The fire breathes. It consumes and renews. It casts a soft amber light onto the steps of the temple, illuminating the dust motes floating in the air. Time seems to warp here. Watching the fire, you lose track of the hours. Is it midnight? Is it nearing dawn? It does not matter. The fire is the same as it was yesterday, the same as it was 100 years ago, the same as it will be 100 years from now. It is a loop of eternal recurrence. The flame dances, dies down, is fed, and rises again. For the weary mind, this is the ultimate resting place. To visualize this fire is to visualize stability. Nothing changes here. There are no surprises. There is only the white stone, the white robes, and the orange flame. It is the quiet engine room of the Empire's soul, humming softly in the dark. As we linger by the columns, the crackling of the fire becomes a rhythmic percussion, a natural white noise that masks the silence of the dead city. It is a primal sound, one that humans have found comforting for thousands of years. We are safe here, in the glow of Vesta, watched over by the silent women in white, who ensure that the darkness never wins. The rhythm of the night mills, while the politicians sleep in their villas and the soldiers patrol the walls, there is one group of men and animals who are already awake, deep in the industrial quarters of the city, near the river wharves of the Testaccio, or tucked behind the great warehouses. The Pistrina, the commercial bakeries, are coming to life. We step off the cool, dark street and push open a heavy door. Immediately, we are enveloped in a different atmosphere. The air here is thick, warm, and white with suspended flour dust. It smells of yeast, of dry grain, and of intense, dry heat. This is the engine room of Rome's survival. The city must eat, and the preparation for the morning dole begins now in the heart of the night. The dominant sound here is a low, continuous rumble that vibrates through the floor. It is the sound of the mills. In the center of the room stand 4 massive hourglass-shaped stones, the moli. These are made of rough, porous volcanic rock. The top stone, the Catillus, fits over the bottom cone, the meta. Watch the movement. It is slow, heavy, and circular. The stones are turned not by water. Rome's aqueducts are for drinking and bathing, but by muscle. Harnessed to each mill is a donkey or a mule. These animals are the silent heroes of the Roman night. They are often blindfolded to keep them calm and to prevent them from getting dizzy as they walk the endless circle. Listen to the rhythm of their work. Clip, clop, scrape, grind. The hooves of the donkeys fall softly on the flour-dusted pavement. The wooden beams of the harness creak with every step. Creak. And underneath it all is the sound of the stone itself, rock grinding against rock, pulverizing the hard grain into soft flour. It is a gravelly, friction-heavy sound, a white noise in the truest sense. It never speeds up. It never slows down. It is a loop of perpetual motion. The flour sifts out from the bottom of the stones, a soft, pale cascade falling into wooden troughs. Shh. It sounds like sand falling in an hourglass. The dust muffles all other noises in the room, dampening the acoustics so that everything sounds close and intimate. In the shadows, the bakers, the pistores, are working the dough. They stand at long wooden tables, their arms coated in white. Listen to the physical sounds of their labor. The slap of wet dough against the wood. Thwack. The rhythmic kneading. Push, fold, push, fold. It is a soft, wet sound, contrasting with the dry grinding of the mills. It is the sound of transformation, grain becoming flour, flour becoming dough, dough becoming bread. Behind them, the great brick ovens are already roaring. The heat radiating from them is intense, a physical wall of warmth that pushes back the night's chill. We can hear the fire inside the arched mouth of the oven, a deep, hollow roar as the draft pulls the flames inward. Every now and then, a baker uses a long wooden peel to slide loaves into the dark cavern of the oven. Slide. Scrape. There is a profound sense of security in this room. It is the security of sustenance. In a world of uncertainty, the production of bread is a constant. The circular path of the donkey, the circular shape of the millstones, the round loaves of bread, Everything here suggests a cycle that cannot be broken. The atmosphere is hypnotic. If you were to sit in the corner of this bakery, watching the donkey plod its endless circle, lulled by the warmth and the rhythmic grinding, your eyelids would grow heavy. The repetition is soothing. There are no sudden noises here, no shouting, just the steady grinding pulse of the city feeding itself. Outside, the streets are cold and empty, but inside the pistrinum, it is warm and alive. The flour dust floats in the air like a localized fog, catching the light of the oil lamps, creating beams of gold in the white haze. We leave them to their work, stepping back out into the cool night, carrying the memory of that warmth and that steady, grounding rhythm with us. The silence of the giants. We leave the warmth of the bakery and the smell of roasting grain, stepping back into the vast, open corridors of the city. We are moving now towards the valley between the Palatine, Caelian, and Esquiline hills. Ahead of us looms a shadow so massive it seems to blot out a significant portion of the star-filled sky. We are standing before the Flavian Amphitheater, the Colosseum. If the markets were the lungs of the city and the Forum its brain, this structure is its adrenaline. But tonight, the beast is asleep. The contrast between the Colosseum of the day and the Colosseum of the night is the most dramatic in all of Rome. Stand at the base of the outer wall. Tilt your head back. The wall rises up, tier after tier of travertine arches, climbing higher into the dark until the upper rim seems to dissolve against the blackness of the heavens. It is a mountain of quarried stone, assembled by human hands. The soundscape here is dominated by the wind. Because the structure is essentially a hollow cylinder, honeycombed with thousands of arches and corridors, it acts like a gigantic instrument. The night breeze from the Caelian hill flows through the open arcades. Whoosh! It is a low, mournful whistle. It circulates through the empty staircases, the vomitoria, creating soft, ghostly drafts that sigh as they exit the building. Inside, the vast arena floor is a pool of shadows. The wooden floor is covered in sand, arena, to soak up the blood of the games. But tonight, the sand is cool and undisturbed. It lies flat and gray in the moonlight, like a calm beach at low tide. Beneath the floor, in the hypogum, the complex network of tunnels and cages is silent. The elevators are lowered. The pulleys hang slack. The wild beasts, the lions, the bears, are sleeping in their dark cells, their heavy breathing echoing softly against the damp brick walls underground. The silence of the cavea, the seating area, is overwhelming. Imagine the 50,000 empty seats, row upon row of marble benches rising up in concentric circles. During the day, this space is a riot of color and noise. Now, it is a monochromatic study in gray and black. The marble retains a chill that radiates outward. If you were to sit on one of those benches now, alone in the vast bowl of the stadium, you would feel the immense weight of the empty space pressing down on you. It is a solitude so profound it feels physical. We move on, walking past the Arch of Constantine towards the other sleeping giant, the Circus Maximus. This is a different kind of emptiness. The Colosseum is vertical. The circus is horizontal. It is a vast, elongated valley carved out between the Aventine and Palatine hills. It stretches out for over 600 meters, a long, dark ribbon of track. Standing at one end, near the starting gates, the carceres, the track looks endless. The spina, The central barrier, adorned with obelisks and statues, runs down the middle like the spine of a fossilized leviathan. The moonlight catches the polished granite of the Egyptian obelisk, making it gleam like a silver needle. The dust of the track, kicked up by chariot wheels during the races, has settled. The air is still. There is no roar of the crowd, no thunder of hooves. There is only the vast open space. In a city of narrow, cramped streets, the Circus Maximus offers a rare expanse of nothingness. It is a void in the heart of the metropolis. The wind here has nothing to block it. It sweeps down the length of the track, rustling the few stray weeds growing near the barrier walls. Rustle. Hiss. A stray dog trots across the sand, stopping to sniff at a post, its small form dwarfed by the sheer scale of the stadium. The silence here is ancient. It feels as though the stadium is remembering the races of the past, replaying them in the quiet of its own stone memory. To stand here is to feel small, irrelevant, and strangely peaceful. The city has built these colossal containers for its fury and its passion, and now, having emptied them, it rests. The sleeping giants stand guard over the city's dreams. They are immovable, solid, and enduring. They have survived the day, and they will wait patiently through the night. Their stillness is a heavy anchor, holding the city in place as the earth turns slowly towards the dawn. We leave them to their silent communion with the wind, feeling the deep, resonant peace that comes from great things at rest. The echoing halls of the Thermae. We leave the open air of the circus and the Colosseum, seeking a different kind of vastness. We are drawn towards the great imperial bath complexes, perhaps the baths of Agrippa, or the burgeoning magnificence of the baths of Trajan. These are not merely buildings. They are artificial landscapes enclosed in stone and glass, cathedrals dedicated to the worship of water and heat. And at night, they become arguably the most atmospheric places in the entire city. The doors to the public are locked, barred with the same heavy timber and iron we saw at the markets. But let us slip inside, into the grand frigidarium, the cold room. The scale of this room is difficult to comprehend. The vaulted ceilings soar dozens of meters overhead, lost in the shadows. The moonlight filters in through the high, clear-story windows, large panes of greenish, translucent glass that diffuse the light, casting a subaquatic glow over the floor. The floor is a sea of mosaic. Millions of tiny tesserae, black, white, and ocean green, form patterns of tritons, dolphins, and waves. In the silence of the night, you can almost hear the ocean they depict. But the real sound here is the water itself. In the center of the hall lies the great cold pool. It is perfectly still, a sheet of black glass. But the silence is punctuated by the physics of the building. The air is humid, heavy with the moisture of the day's bathers. As the temperature outside drops, the moisture inside condenses on the high, vaulted ceilings. Listen. Plip. A single drop of water falls from 60 feet above. It strikes the surface of the pool. Plop. The sound is small, but the acoustics of the hall are so sensitive, so resonant, that this single drop creates a ripple of sound that expands outward, bouncing off the marble walls, echoing again and again until it fades into a ghostly whisper. Plip. Echo. 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 It is a slow, irregular rhythm. It is the building sweating, releasing the day's humidity back into the water. It is a lonely, mesmerizing sound. It emphasizes the emptiness. Where thousands of voices once laughed and echoed, Now there is only the water speaking to the stone. We move deeper, passing through the tepidarium, the warm room, and entering the caldarium, the hot room. The atmosphere changes instantly. It is still hot here. The heat is stored in the walls, in the floor, in the very air. It is a thick, enveloping warmth that presses against the skin, inducing a sense of drowsiness. The walls here are hollow, lined with ceramic tubes called tubuli. Behind the marble facing, hot air is still circulating, rising from the furnaces below. If you place your hand on the wall, it feels alive, warm and vibrating ever so slightly with the draft. This brings us to the source of the heat and the hidden security of the baths. We must go down. We descend a narrow service staircase, leaving the marble and mosaics behind, entering the brick and dirt world of the hypocaust. This is the underbelly of the baths. The ceiling here is low, supported by hundreds of small brick pillars, pillae stacks. We are walking underneath the floor of the room above. The heat down here is intense, dry, and dusty. This is the domain of the furnace workers, the fornicatores. Even at night, the fires cannot be allowed to go out. To restart the great furnaces would take days of fuel and labor. So the fires are banked. They are kept in a state of smoldering slumber. Watch the furnace tender. He is a silhouette against the glowing mouth of the Profernium. He moves with a slow, lethargic economy of motion. He is not feeding the fire to roar, but to sustain. He picks up a shovel. Scrape. The metal slides against the dirt floor. He scoops up a mixture of charcoal and ash. He tosses it gently into the orange maw of the furnace. Whoosh. The fire sighs. A soft cloud of sparks swirls up into the flue, vanishing into the heating ducts that snake through the walls of the building. The sound of the fire down here is a low, continuous drone. It is a bass note, a rumble that is felt in the chest more than heard with the ears. It is the metabolic hum of the building. The hypocaust is a breathing creature, inhaling cool air, heating it, and exhaling it through the floors above. There is a profound sense of isolation here in the tunnels. The luxury above, the statues, the perfumes, the oils, is sustained by this dark, hot, subterranean work. The worker sits back on a wooden stool, wiping soot from his forehead. He watches the embers glow. Crack, pop. He is the guardian of the warmth. He ensures that when the first bather arrives at dawn, the floor will be pleasant to the touch. We drift back up the stairs, away from the dry heat and the soot, returning to the cool, echoing vastness of the frigidarium. The contrast is striking, from the fire to the water, from the cramped tunnel to the soaring vault. We stand by the edge of the pool one last time. The moonlight has shifted. It now illuminates the face of a marble statue of Hygeia, the goddess of health. She looks serene, watching over the empty water. Plip. Another drop falls. The ripple spreads across the black water, distorting the reflection of the moon for a moment, before the pool settles back into perfect, glass-like stillness. The baths are sleeping, waiting to cleanse the city once again. The slumber of knowledge. We leave the humid echo of the baths and return to the dry, cool air of the night. We find ourselves drawn back towards the Forum of Trajan, but this time we are not looking at the markets or the open squares. We are approaching two massive structures that flank the great column of Trajan. These are the twin libraries of the Bibliotheca Ulpia, one for Greek, one for Latin. If the baths are the body of Rome, this is its memory. And at night, the memory of the empire is sealed in a silence deeper than any tomb. The entrance is guarded, of course. A sleepy custodian sits by the bronze doors, wrapped in his cloak. But inside, the space belongs entirely to the ghosts of words. Step into the vast rectangular hall. The air here is distinct from anywhere else in the city. It is dry, aggressively so. It smells of cedar wood, of citrus oil, of old leather, and of papyrus. It is the scent of preservation, a smell designed to repel moths and worms, but to the human nose, it is a sedative, rich, woody, and ancient. The room is lined with 2 levels of recessed niches. Inside these niches stand the armaria, the great wooden presses or cupboards that hold the scrolls. These cabinets are made of heavy ebony or citrus wood, polished to a dull sheen. They are closed now, their doors latticed with bronze grills. Inside those cupboards lie thousands upon thousands of volumina, scrolls. Imagine them resting there in the dark. They are rolled tight around their wooden umbilici, tagged with small leather slips identifying their contents. Histories of wars long ended, treatises on farming, poems about love and loss, speeches that once moved the Senate to tears. Now they are all equally silent. They are dormant thoughts, waiting for a reader who will not come until the sun rises. The silence here is heavy. It feels accumulated, layer upon layer, dust mote by dust mote. The acoustics are deadened by the wood and the paper. There is no echo here. If you were to whisper, the sound would simply be absorbed by the walls of books. Listen closely to the room itself. Wood is a living material. It breathes with the temperature changes of the night. Creak. A shelf settles somewhere on the upper gallery. Pop. A joint in the cedar wood expands slightly as the air cools. These are the only sounds. The library adjusting its bones. It is a comforting, organic sound, like the settling of an old ship at anchor. The moonlight streams in through the high windows, cutting long rectangular beams through the dusty air. You can see the dust motes dancing in the light, swirling in slow motion. They rise and fall, carried by microcurrents of air that we cannot feel. Watching them is hypnotic. Up, down, around. A silent ballet of microscopic matter. In the center of the room stands a statue of Minerva, the goddess of wisdom. She stands in the shadows, her marble features softened by the gloom. She is the silent librarian, the eternal guardian of these thoughts. She watches over the capsae, the leather buckets filled with scrolls that sit on the reading tables, left there by scholars who will return in the morning. There is a profound sense of security in this room. It is not the physical security of the Vigiles or the spiritual security of the Vestals. It is the security of continuity. These scrolls contain the laws, the lineage, the very identity of Rome. As long as they are safe, as long as the roof holds and the fire is kept away, the idea of Rome cannot be destroyed. The library feels like a vault. The walls are thick to keep out the damp. The floor is paved with colored marble, giallo antico and pavonazzetto, cool and smooth underfoot. The temperature is constant, regulated by the sheer mass of the building. It is a stable environment in a chaotic world. We walk slowly between the reading tables. The chairs are empty, pushed back as if the readers have just stepped away. We can imagine the scratch of a reed pen, the rustle of unrolling papyrus, but these are phantom sounds. The reality is stillness. To be here is to be inside the mind of the empire while it sleeps. The frantic arguments of philosophy, the complex equations of architecture, the bloody accounts of battles, all of them are rolled up, put away, and silenced. The anger has drained out of the histories. The passion has cooled in the poetry. All that remains is the potential for knowledge, resting in the dark, smelling of cedar and thyme. We stand for a moment, breathing in that dry, woody air, feeling the weight of the wisdom surrounding us. It is a heavy blanket for the mind. There is nothing to learn tonight, no text to decipher, no lesson to memorize. The books are sleeping, and so can we. We turn and leave them to their silence, the bronze doors clicking shut behind us, sealing the memory of the world in its wooden box. The silent watchers of the Appian Way. We have explored the living city, the sleeping markets, and the echoing baths. Now we must travel to the edge. We move towards the Porta Capena, the great southern gate in the Servian wall. We pass through the archway, leaving the cramped, stone-filled bowl of the city behind us. We're stepping across the Pomerium, the sacred boundary line that separates the city of the living from the world outside. Before us lies the Via Appia, the queen of roads. It stretches out straight as an arrow, a ribbon of basalt cutting through the countryside, heading south towards Capua and Brindisi. But here, just outside the walls, it is not merely a road. It is a city of the dead. Roman law forbids burial within the city walls, and so the wealthy and the powerful built their tombs here, lining the road on both sides. Tonight, under the high, open canopy of the stars, the Appian Way is a canyon of monuments. Walk with me down the center of the road. The paving stones here are large, polygonal blocks of lava rock, fitted together with such precision that you cannot slide a knife blade between them. They are smooth, polished by centuries of cartwheels and sandals. In the moonlight, they shine like the scales of a great black snake. The soundscape here is entirely different from the city. The rumble of the wagons is far behind us now. Here, the dominant sound is the wind. It moves freely across the open fields, catching in the branches of the trees that line the road. Whoosh, shh. These are cypress trees, the trees of mourning. They stand tall and narrow, like dark flames or black exclamation marks against the indigo sky. Their foliage is dense and needle-like. When the wind passes through them, it creates a specific, hushed sound. It is a dry, whispering rustle. Shh. It sounds like the earth itself is urging us to be quiet. On either side of us rise the tombs. Some are small altars, others are house-sized mausoleums. There is the massive drum-shaped tomb of Cassilia Metella, looking like a fortress in the dark. There are pyramids, columns, and statues of the deceased standing in niches. The statues look down at us as we walk. Stone men in togas, stone women with veiled heads. They are frozen in an eternal pose of dignity. They do not sleep, yet they are the ultimate symbols of rest. They have achieved what the sleeping citizens inside the walls are mimicking: total cessation of worry. Read the inscriptions carved into the marble. The moonlight is bright enough to make out the letters, cut deep and painted in red vermilion, though now appearing black in the night. Sista Viator. Stop, traveler. It is a request from the dead to the living. But tonight, we do not stop to read their resumes or their honors. We stop only to share their peace. The air here smells of pine resin, of dry grass from the fields, and of the cooling earth. It is a cleaner, wilder scent than the air of the Subura. Nature is reclaiming the spaces between the stones. Crickets are singing in the long grass at the base of the monuments. Chirrup, chirrup, chirrup. It is a rhythmic, hypnotic pulse. Thousands of tiny voices creating a blanket of sound that covers the landscape. It is a sound that has not changed since the beginning of time. There is a profound sense of security here, paradoxically. These tombs are the ancestors of Rome. They are the spectral guard. They watch the road. Nothing can surprise the city from the south without passing through this silent gauntlet of history. The dead are holding the line. The shadows here are long and sharp. The moon casts the profile of a statue across the road, a long, distorted shadow of a hand raised in greeting or blessing. We step over it. We walk through the memories of the Scipios, the Servili, the Metelli. Occasionally, a night bird, an owl, calls out from the top of a ruin. Hoot, hoot. The sound echoes across the flat landscape, lonely and mournful. It emphasizes the solitude. We are the only moving things in a landscape of stone and shadow. As we walk further away from the city, the silence deepens. The horizon widens. The sky seems bigger here, the dome of the heavens pressing down with all its weight. The Milky Way is a faint, dusty smear of light above. This is the end of ambition. All the striving of the forum, all the noise of the markets ends here under these cypress trees. It is a calming realization. The road goes on, mile after mile, flanked by these silent sentinels who have found their eternal rest. They seem to whisper to the night, "All is well, the struggle is over, sleep." We stand for a moment, listening to the wind in the pines and the rhythmic song of the crickets. The peace of the Appian Way is heavy and absolute. It is a gravity that pulls the eyelids down. We turn back towards the city, carrying the stillness of the ancients with us. The high watch on the Capitoline. We have walked the depths of the valley, the tunnels of the baths, and the road of the dead. Now, as the night reaches its deepest point, the hour the Romans call the third watch, we must ascend. We make our way back to the center, to the foot of the Capitoline Hill. We climb the Clivus Capitolinus, the steep, winding path paved with basalt. Our breathing deepens with the exertion. The air grows slightly thinner, cooler, and faster. We are rising above the stagnant air of the lower city, up into the realm of the wind and the gods. At the summit, we stand before the most important building in the entire Roman world, the Temple of Jupiter, Optimus Maximus, Jupiter, the best and greatest. Even in the dark, it is overwhelming. It is a mountain atop a mountain. The massive podium rises up like a cliff face. The columns are thick forests of stone, reaching up to support a roof covered in gilded bronze tiles. Although the gold does not shine brightly now, without the sun, the tiles still catch the starlight, creating a dull, metallic sheen, like the scales of a sleeping dragon. The great bronze doors are shut tight. Inside, in the triple cella, sit the statues of the Capitoline Triad, Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva. They sit in the dark, their eyes painted wide open, staring eternally out towards the city they protect. Standing here, on the steps of the temple, we are at the spiritual apex of the empire. The silence here is majestic. It is not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of power held in reserve. Turn around now. Put your back to the temple columns and look out over the city. This is the view of the gods. Below us, Rome is spread out like a vast, dark ocean. The 7 hills are merely swelling waves in this sea of shadows. The valleys between them, the Subura, the Velabrum, are pools of absolute blackness. From this height, The individual details disappear. We no longer see the locks on the shops or the cracks in the pavement. We see only the mass. The city looks like a single, living organism, curled up in the landscape, resting. We can see the faint, scattered constellations of orange light, the last few oil lamps burning in the insula windows, the torches of the Vigiles patrolling far below, moving like slow fireflies through the maze. We can trace the dark ribbon of the Tiber River, winding its way towards the sea, reflecting the moon in broken, shimmering patches. The wind is stronger up here. It rushes past the temple pillars with a steady, hollow sound. Whoosh. It tugs at our clothes. It cools the sweat on our brow. It carries no smell of garbage or smoke, only the clean, sharp scent of the upper air and the faint metallic tang of the bronze roof. Listen to the city from this vantage point. It is a low, collective hum. It is the breathing of 1,000,000 people. It is the vibration of the river, the wind in the trees, the distant bark of a dog, all blended into one indistinguishable, soothing drone. It is the sound of peace. At this hour, the city is most vulnerable, yet most secure. The Senate has stopped arguing. The merchants have stopped selling. The soldiers are at their posts. The frantic energy of the Caput Mundi, the head of the world, has finally dissipated. There is a feeling of immense solitude up here, but it is not lonely. It is the solitude of the century. We are sharing the view with the statues on the roof, the clay chariots and the victory goddesses. We are watching over the sleep of the citizens. The sky above seems closer here. The stars are hard and bright, piercing the velvet blackness. The Milky Way stretches directly overhead, a bridge of light connecting the Capitoline to the heavens. We feel a sense of detachment. The problems of the day, the debts, the politics, the rushing crowds, seem very small from this height. They are down there, hidden in the shadows. Up here, there is only the stone, the wind, and the stars. The turning of the earth feels palpable. We can almost feel the great sphere of the world rotating slowly beneath our feet, moving us inevitably towards the morning. But not yet. The night is still holding its breath. The third watch is a time of suspension, a pause between the yesterday that is gone and the tomorrow that has not yet arrived. We lean against the cold stone of a column, wrapping our cloaks tighter against the wind. We let our eyes drift over the sleeping capital, lulled by the vastness of the view. We are safe. The gods are in their house. The city is in its bed. The world is at rest. The approach of the morning star. The night has aged. We have passed through the hours of darkness, watching over the sleeping city from the walls to the hills, from the depths of the tunnels to the heights of the temples. Now, we enter the final phase of our watch. The Romans call this the Gallicinium, the time of the cockcrow, though the birds themselves are not yet awake. It is the fourth watch. The air on the Capitoline Hill has changed again. The wind has died down. The atmosphere has settled into a profound, motionless chill. This is the coldest hour, the hour before the dawn. A heavy dew, the rose, has begun to fall upon the city. It coats the bronze roof of the temple, the marble statues in the forum, and the cobblestones of the empty streets with a fine, slick layer of moisture. If you were to touch the stone rail of a balcony now, it would be wet and icy cold. The sky above is no longer the impenetrable black of midnight. To the east, over the darkened outline of the Esquiline Hill, the fabric of the night is beginning to thin. It is not light yet, Far from it. It is merely a shifting of the darkness, a transition from deep obsidian to a softer charcoal gray. High in that eastern sky, a single point of light burns with brilliant intensity. It is the morning star, Venus, or Lucifer as the Romans call it, the light bringer. It hangs there alone, a diamond suspended in the graying void, signaling that the cycle is almost complete. It watches the city with a cold, clear eye. Below us, the city is in its deepest state of rest. The heavy wagons have mostly finished their deliveries. The rumble has stopped. The bakeries have finished their first batch of loaves, and the smell of fresh bread is beginning to drift faintly on the damp air, mixing with the scent of the dew and the stone. The fires in the baths are banked. The lamps in the insulae have all burned out, their oil exhausted. There's a sense of suspended animation. The city is taking a deep breath before the inhalation of the new day. Think of the millions of souls sleeping down there, the senator in his silk sheets, the soldier on his straw mat, the baker by his oven, the child in the cradle. They are all united in this shared vulnerability, protected by the walls, by the watchmen, and by the peace we have witnessed. The system has worked. The night was safe. The shadows held no terrors, only rest. The silence now is absolute. It is a thick, cotton-like silence that seems to dampen even the beating of your own heart. It is the silence of a world waiting. We slowly descend the steps of the Capitol, moving back into the shadows of the valley. We do not need to see the sunrise. Our journey belongs to the night. We have walked the timeline of the dark, from the first purple bruise of twilight to this final gray stillness. As we walk, our footsteps make no sound. We are drifting now, floating through the history, through the layers of time. The stone walls of the city seem to soften, blurring at the edges. The grandeur of Rome, the marble, the gold, the power, fades into the background. All that remains is the feeling of safety, a heavy, warm, encompassing sense of security. You are safe here. The gates are locked. The fire of Vesta burns. The ancestors watch from the Appian Way. The river flows to the sea. The stars turn overhead. There is nothing left to do. There is nothing left to see. The city has survived the night, and so have you. Let the image of the sleeping city fade from your mind. Let the gray sky dissolve. Let the stone dissolve. There is only the quiet, the deep, ancient, unbroken quiet of the eternal city. Rest now. The watch is over. The stars are fading. Sleep, sleep, sleep. If this journey through the duller side of history helped you unwind and maybe even drift off, please let me know. First, hit that like button if you enjoyed this historical lullaby. Second, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future installments of history too boring to keep you awake. Finally, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below about which historical topic you find so mundane. It deserves to be our next sleepy video. Your suggestions will shape our journey into the world's most delightfully dull past.